talk today about the top 3 hidden gems in GA4. And so some of these you might have kind of seen, maybe if you watched a course or a video, you might have seen them and then like just a little glimpse of them. But we came up with this topic because about a month ago, I was in a mastermind and I was really surprised that these people that are probably considered more of intermediate users of GA4 didn't know about these things and how they could come together to really impact the way they use Google Analytics 4 and really help them optimize their user journeys, their funnels. So that's why when Phil and Will reached out and I knew exactly what I wanted to share. So this is going to be more of a how-to and not just an explanation. I'm not going to use a bunch of slides. We're going to show you exactly how to really be able to take action and completely change the way you use GA4. So let's go ahead and get started. So we already have this introduction, so I don't really need to go through all of this, but yes, I am the director of measurement for brands like measurementmarketing.io, Data Driven You, and Measure Summit. Been doing this a really long time. Actually started out in the manufacturing world building actionable dashboards, and so that's kind of how I got started with all of this fun stuff and eventually switched over to online marketing, and the rest is history. So as we go through any one of our trainings, we encourage you to do something we call the one thing. So there's going to be lots of things coming at you all day today. And the same thing with this particular training that I'm about to give you. There's going to be lots of things, but take one thing, grab it and apply it today, and then come back, watch it again, and get something else the next time. So what we're going to go through in this particular training is you're going to learn more about how to organize your reports so you can kind of get in and get out and not have to spend a bunch of time digging around to find the things you need to find. Then it's going to be visualizing your user journey so you can see where your users may be dropping off at, like maybe what's not working the way it's supposed to. And then you're going to learn how to compare traffic for that user journey so you can see maybe which traffic is falling off at those particular points and which ones maybe not. So you can really truly optimize those ads, those emails, all the things to really get what you need out of those user journeys. So let's go ahead and get started with our very first hidden gem. All right. And the very first one is something called the library. And let's go check it out and see what the heck we're talking about when we say the library. You might be familiar with this screen. We are here inside of Google Analytics 4, inside of our teaching property. And what we have here is the reports, and we just came to the report snapshot. And I'm just going to come down into any one of these regular old reports, and you probably have heard that you can customize your reports. Totally true. You can click on this little pencil icon and you can go through, and let's say the channel reports is not something very useful for you. You don't really use channel group because you need to be able to see exactly which paid media is, causing the results. So maybe you go to dimensions and you don't want to see this as the default. You want to see this one as a default. So you go ahead and choose to change that as a default. And then maybe you don't want to see channel grouping at all. So you can go ahead and remove, and there you are. And that's what you want to have on here. And you could go through and add more dimensions. Maybe you want device category, and we're going to go ahead and press apply. And go ahead, it's changing this view. We haven't done anything. It's just for our own little preview here. You do have the option to save, and this is kind of where this whole library thing is coming into play. You can save changes to the current report, which means that whole little thing where we were just clicking, where we clicked on this traffic acquisition, you can save changes to this current report, and it's visible to everyone who has access to this property. So if you are an agency and you're in your client's Google Analytics 4, and maybe there's a lot of other agencies in there or other people in there, and you don't know if they are using the channels, and you don't want to change what they're using. You want to kind of have your own little area of reports for yourself. So you can save it as a new report. And for this example, we're going to say example report, just so we can find this easier. So we're going to go ahead and say save. And then we end up in this little section here. We don't have our nav. We don't have anything that's going on. We just see our report again. We're still kind of in the same screen. So this is kind of where people get lost because this is one of those things that a lot of courses have, and a lot of things that you're like, hey, we could customize report. But what happens is, where do you find it again? We go back and we are still in this. We're not seeing our nav. We're going to go over to our reports and we can't find it. It's not in here. I promise you it's not in here. You can kind of, kind of just poke around. We don't see anything that says example report. If I come back to my traffic acquisition report, we're back here with channel grouping. So where did it go? And because we know we're talking about the library, we know we're talking about this little guy right here. You do have to have the proper permissions in GA4 to be able to see the library. So make sure you have that. It's not like read only or anything. You need to be able to have a little bit more permissions than that. So here in our library, obviously this is our teaching account. So you see a lot of different testing things and stuff like that going on. But the thing I want you to focus on is this thing called collection. And we could see by default, we have this lifestyle collection. So for those of you that might be kind of had your GA4 set up for quite some time, you probably have this thing life cycle. And that's this thing up here. So collections. And so here's this life cycle, and we can see that it's published. And we could scroll down a little bit more and we can see this other thing called business objectives. That's kind of like the new grouping of reports with just a little bit more user-friendly naming that's over here. So we can click on here and say publish because we're not seeing it over here. But once I publish, it pops up and we can see it over here. Again, these names are just a little bit more user-friendly. So that's the reason why a lot of people are using this now. And you could technically go through and unpublish because you're like, that's not very useful. But again, you're changing it for everyone who has access to this property. So if you don't want to change everything for somebody else, just go ahead and leave them there. But the cool thing about the library is that you can create a new collection and we're going to start with a blank one. And it can be something just for you. Like I can say Julie's reports, or I can say agency, ABC agency, because we have a lot of our agency clients do this. So that way their clients and all the other vendors know that those are the reports that that team is using. So we're going to call this ABC agency. And so we know we have that, and that's our reports. And then you can create a topic. This is also really neat because let's say you have product A, product B, and product C. You can have different sections of reports for that. So we're going to call this product A. And then we're going to apply. And now we can go through and grab whatever report it is we want to be able to use. And so you have overview reports and detail reports, which I'm not going to get to too many of the details of that, but we're going to go ahead and search for the report that we just created over here. And so now we have example report, and we're just going to use this handy dandy drag and drop, and we are done. So we're going to go ahead and save, and obviously we can fill this out and have a bunch of different things. You can use all of the other regular reports too. It doesn't have to be a custom one. So if you just want your own section to be exactly what you want, go for it. And so now what we have here, and they are in alphabetical order. So that's how they're coming through. And so now we have ABC agency here, but we could see it's not published. So we can go ahead and hit that publish button. And now we have our reports here and we have our product A. So kind of grouping how that, and then we can go to example report. And this is exactly what we created over here. And so now, again, we can go into customize our report. And let's say we wanted to have something with this metric, and let's say we wanted to choose conversion. Let's type that in. Well, there we go. We're going to go through and find another one that we want to go through and get and add in here. Let's add in session duration. We're just going to add a new one in there. So we're going to do that. And so we can have that one in there and we can have all, there they are. We're going to scroll all the way over here and then we have average session duration if you needed to add those in. Obviously, you can go ahead and remove as well. And so just for the sake of this example, we're going to go ahead and save, but we're going to save to our current report, meaning the one that is for us. And it's saying, hey, are you sure? We're like, yeah, we're good. Let's save. And then we just hit our back button again. And now we are back here where we are at with our example report. where it is our reports for our agency or ABC agency for this particular product. And like I mentioned before, you can have product A, B, C, or Facebook traffic, Google Ads traffic, whatever it is, all kind of different ways to organize reports just exactly the way you want because of this hidden gem of the library. So now you know about the library. Coming up next is probably one of my favorite things about GA4. So it is called we're calling it the hidden gem of custom funnels. So let's go ahead and see what that means. Coming back into our screen. So we've been here under reports. Now we're going to explore. I think this is kind of a weird name because we have explore, exploration. So just know that those are kind of interchangeable in the world of Google Analytics. So we're going to hit this blank one. And just, if you've seen these before, or maybe you haven't seen this, is a little bit of a crash course, but you will be able to follow step by step exactly what I'm doing to be able to achieve these results. And once you've watched this, it'll take you just a matter of 10 to 15 minutes to be able to achieve whatever it is that I'm about to show you. So just don't worry, you'll be able to do this too. So we're going to hit funnel exploration here under this technique. And the next step that we're going to do is click on this little pencil icon here. And what we're going to do is then where it says add new condition, we're going to hit page location. And the reason we're using page location, because I wanted to make sure that anybody could be able to follow this. So if you are not using Google Tag Manager, you're just using the regular Google Tag, you can do this. If you are using Google Tag Manager and you have events and all kind of other things coming through, like I should say custom events coming through, then you can use those custom events, that identify the different steps that you want to use. But for this example, we're going to make sure that everybody can follow along no matter what their setup is. So page location, and I'm going to go ahead and add the first step of the page location that we're going to use, which is something we call our toolbox. And I would encourage you to keep it with contains. Pro tip with Google Analytics 4, the regex is more strict than what the old Universal Analytics is. You can always go and use a chat GPT and say something like, how do you, basically you say, create this page with regex for GA4, like you would say with regex for GA4, and it'll help you get that formula in there. So we can just keep it with contains, and we're going to hit apply. So now it's kind of giving this little summary here, but and we're not going to explain everything that's going on here. We have courses out there for you to do that, and I'm sure you've seen videos and stuff, but what I'm trying to show you is the hidden gem of using this thing. So the next step, and I have this little copied and paste over here, we're going to do the same thing. Again, you could use a different event or something that you might have a little bit more customized here. And we're going to say apply, and then we're going to add another step. And we're going to keep going through, and then I'll explain what these different steps are here in just a moment. We're going to just kind of get everything filled out and press apply. And then we're going to have page location. And here we go and hit this one. Here we go. So this step one is what we're going to call the toolbox lead offer page. So this is just basically an opt-in page. This here, the second step is the toolbox thank you page. Plus, it is also what we call a tracking leads in sales masterclass offer. So it's kind of like a thank you page, but with an offer. And then here is the cart. And then here is the thank you plus upsell. So that is the user journey, very similar to what you probably have going on for you or for your clients. So there's an offer page, which is a lead magnet. There's a thank you page with something that like a tripwire offer, a cheaper offer. There's a cart, and then there's some sort of a page that tells you they completed. There's also a thank you page after this, but I wanted to keep it kind of simple. And so we're going to go ahead and press apply here. And it's going to build our user journey for us. because we're able to see exactly what is going on for this. We have a default date range of the last 28 days, which in this case for this user journey is fine. It's a brand new user journey, so I can't go back farther and get more data because it probably would just show this stuff here. Like this page would have data, but the rest wouldn't because these are all new pages that we have. So just kind of be aware of your date range. So here, I'm going to kind of walk you through what it is that we're seeing here. So here's our step one, the first page. And what we're able to see in this case for this date range, I'm actually going to zoom in so it's a wee bit easier. Ooh, too much. So what we're saying is that we have 35.8% of the overall traffic that got to the second step. And then we can see the completion rate for this is basically the same thing, which makes sense for step two. Then what we can see is of the overall traffic, the starting traffic, almost 6% got to the cart. And then again, all of the overall traffic, almost 2% purchased, which, kind of good for a pretty much cold traffic here. Then what we can see over here is of the users that see this offer, we're seeing about a 16.5% get to the cart, because sometimes that's the number that we reference, like of those that see this, how many get here? And so we have that completion rate. And same thing with this little guy over here. How many people of the people that see the cart, how many people get to actually purchase? So this is your cart conversion rate. And the abandonment of this is your cart abandonment rate. So a lot of you are familiar with that terminology. So you have almost everything it is that you're looking for in terms of conversion rates here. However, you might be wondering, well, how do I, compare traffic? How do I kind of see exactly what is causing the results? So what you can do is come over here where you see dimensions, and this is where you would go through and add in, let's say, session. And I'm not going to go through what's the difference of all these things. You guys, there's lots of different resources out there to kind of guide you through that. So we're just going to choose session source, medium campaign, and we're going to choose to import. And then we can add in other metrics if we wanted to. However, in this case of this user journey, like the way this type of funnel exploration works, that's not going to be very useful, but just know that you can do that for other types of reports. And so now we can come through here and we could go to breakdown and choose, let's go to session source. And so now this is where I'm actually going to zoom back out so you can see it a little bit, see the big picture here. Is now you can see and you can compare the conversion rates of each step by your traffic sources. And it's right now it's only showing 5, the top 5. And we can go through here and hey, Ahmad Kanani, thank you, Ahmad. One of our team members, Manisha, did something with Ahmad not too long ago. And so she got a lot of things going, a lot of leads from him, from one of her tools that she created. And you can also go through and even filter. So let's say you only want Facebook traffic or whatever it is, you can go through and filter lots of different things you can go through and see right here. But there's one thing that is missing, and what I like to call it is WTF. Where's the forecast? Because, as you know, with goals and things that you're trying to achieve, if you don't know where you're aiming, it is really hard to know if you're going in the right direction. Maybe this is really, really warm traffic, and actually this, 1.9% is really bad. And it's kind of hard to see that here. So how can we adjust this so we can see that a little bit easier? And that is just going in here to our little steps and coming into the second step, because that's the one that would actually have this, have a conversion rate or something. So what we're going to do, I'm going to shorten this just a little bit, and I'm going to kind of assume that we know when we see a toolbox thank you page, we know there's another offer there. And so what I'm going to say is forecast, and we're going to say, let's say 8 to 12%, or hold on, sorry, that's the wrong one. We're going to say 30 to 40%, because this is the conversion rate for the initial opt-in. And then I'm just going to copy this, and then we're going to come over here. And this forecast that we're going to do is actually from the offer page for this to the cart. And that's the one I'm thinking 8 to 12%, because I know it's mainly cold traffic hitting this. And then I'm going to say, because we know an upsell would eventually mean that they purchased. So we're going to hit this one up. And because in this is forecast is looking at from the cart to the upsell. So it's kind of thinking that cart conversion rate. And this one also would probably be 30 to 40% for cold traffic, maybe 40 to 50%. Let's say we're expecting 40 to 50 because it's such a cheap offer. So we're going to have all of that there. We're going to hit apply. Pro tip, if you start hitting, trying to click over here, you're going to not save any of your changes. So always make sure you hit the apply. All right, now we're going to give it a second. So now we can see our conversion rates up here so that we can see, are we doing the things that we're wanting to do? So we can see really quick that to get to the cart, we're actually a little bit higher than where we're wanting to be. However, the cart conversion rate, we're seeing that we're not quite where we want to be. So it's really easy for us to see, know exactly where we need to optimize. Is the messaging on the offer page a little confusing? So when they get there, are they just not converting the way they that we're expecting them to? Is there something we could do on the cart? Is the cart, making it harder for them to get through? Is it a device issue? So that's where we can go through and come into our dimensions again and come up to device category and look for that little bad boy, device category, and again, import. And then again, we could go through and break it down and find out, is it a certain type of device that maybe not converting the way we would expect it to? Obviously, there's teeny tiny numbers, but let's say these are multiplied by 10. So it's, 170 and 200 are coming through. We have a lot of good data, and these are the numbers. I would then know to go to desktop and be like, what is going on with desktop? I can use my other tools like Microsoft Clarity or something like that to kind of help guide me to know what is going on with this desktop cart that is not converting the way mobile does. And so that's how you can break down. Obviously, you can go by traffic source and all that other fun stuff too. But this is the way where you can very easily see your customized user journey. You have your forecast in here, and you're able to kind of see exactly how it's converting overall. So now you know custom funnels. Our next hidden gem is easy access funnels. So what in the world are we talking about with that? So when we build an exploration, so I'm actually going to call this, example toolbox funnel. So when we create a exploration like this, I'm going to come over here and we're going to see that this exploration is listed right here. Now, the way GA4 is currently built is these explorations, what you have here, are only available to this user. So meaning, remember how our reports and everything were available to everyone who had access to the property? That is not the same for those that are for the explorations here. You can come over here and share, and you can see it's going to have this little pop-up. So it's only read only, meaning other people cannot edit it. They can't change the date. They can't do anything like that. So it's not very useful to kind of be collaborative or kind of have your other team members go through and see what's going on. So maybe you create the report or they create the report for you, and you want to be able to kind of do the breakdown, see device category, see the source medium, all the things we were just looking at. You want to be able to do that. Basically, what you would see is it would all be kind of grayed out, and you wouldn't be able to do much over here. So it's kind of not as useful for that. It's great if you're a solo, just doing it all your own. You don't need anybody else to kind of pop in. That's perfectly fine. But if you want it to be easier to access, there is this option here to be able to save as a report in the library. So we're going to go ahead and do that example funnel. You can change it, make it a name, because remember, once it's in the library, and everyone else can see it. So make sure you name it something that's going to be useful. We're going to say save, and then we can exploration is save to the library. We're going to say review in the library. And so we are going to now see we're here. Or we could have just clicked on reports and then gone to the library as well if we didn't get there fast enough. And we could see it is right here, and we could see that it's not added to a collection. So what we're going to do is come in to our agency, ABC or ABC agency. We're going to click on edit, and then we're going to look again for our example. See, we do all these fun things here, and then we're going to then drop it here, and we're going to choose to save. And we're going to choose Save Changes to Current Collection. We don't want to create a new one. We want to keep it under ABC Agency. So we're going to click on Save, and now we're going to hit our back button. And now under Product A, we have 2 reports. And we could come through and go here. And we have all of these options. So now by default, it's choosing this one, which is perfectly fine. And we can then change by all these things. And if you're like, well, how does it know what to filter by, or excuse me, sort by? And we have, these are all the dimensions that we added. So maybe you come through and like, well, crud, I need to be able to see the ad content or the term or something like that. I need to be able to do that as well. Well, the thing that you'll do is then come over to your exploration, come back to your report. And currently, this is the way that it's done. I hope that they will fix this and make it not this way. But what you have to do is kind of go circle back through. And there we go. We're going to find one of them. And let's do session. Looking for, let's actually add content. I just saw it and then my brain lost it. There we are. I knew I saw you. So we're going to go ahead and import. And here we go. So now we see it over here. But what we have to do again is save as report in the library. And I'm just going to put in a number 2 real quick here, just so I can see the difference of them. And I'm going to save. And then this time I'm going to click on reports, head to the library. And what I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm going to rename this one real quick. And I'm going to say, go to home and say old. And I'm going to save. If you're doing this, weeks apart, you could probably see what's the difference is by looking at the date. But since we're doing it on the same day, it's going to be a little bit harder. So we're going to come back up to our ABC agency and go through, and we're going to get rid of the old one. And then we're going to look for example. We're going to go through and drag and drop again and save to current collection. And we're going to hit the back button. And then we're going to go ahead and again rename this one so we don't have that weird number 2 right in front. And that's just a little pro tip for you. Obviously, again, if you have different dates, it's easy to find them. You don't have to deal with renaming it. But now we can go through and be able to see that we can now sort and kind of compare our different ad contents as well. So why would you do it this way compared to the other way? Well, again, once you have a report, you're in the report section. Everybody who has access to this property can see this. So if you have a team of multiple people and you want your team to be able to come in here, this is what they can do. They can go through and kind of see what's going on, how it's working. It's just an easier way to access these reports. And you can, again, very clearly see the forecast. You can see what they're supposed to do. You can very clearly see. Obviously, we don't have conditional formatting, but you can very clearly see where you're not hitting your forecast, and where you should be able to go and optimize. You can still kind of go through and search for certain traffic. You can go through that. You can't go through and you can see, you can customize this piece here, and you can kind of go through that whole little piece like that. We're not going to dive into that right at this moment. But we're going to go ahead and just leave it there. So again, kind of going through what you're able to do, you can see, you can compare your different traffic sources and who is doing the thing that you're expecting them to do. You can add your filters. So if you want to just say only a certain type of traffic, only whatever it is, and this is really useful. So if you want to say a certain country or whatever, there's lots of different ways that you can utilize this report the same way you do with your other types of reports as well. All right, that is your easy access funnels. And we've been teaching Google Analytics for over a decade. I've personally been teaching it for almost a decade. And so obviously we have the old analytics and we've known other platforms that do analytics as well. And even with the old analytics in this new version of analytics, there's one thing that I wanted to share with you, and it's one pro tip, and that is the biggest mistake that everyone makes. And I just feel like this is going to be one of the things that also unlocks all of these platforms for you. And the biggest mistake that people make and the wrong thing to do is to go into these platforms like GA4 expecting the answers to pop out at you. And meaning that you're going to go in there and kind of, poke around and think that something is going to be miraculously revealed to you. And that's not the way it works. That is absolutely not the way it works. And honestly, if you are in ads, and think about the way that you use Facebook or Google Ads. And what I'm about to show you is like, holy crap, that is what I do with those platforms, but I don't do that with Google Analytics 4 or any of these other analytics platforms. And the thing that you're doing with the ad platforms and not with the analytics platforms is the correct way is to go into analytics with questions so you can take action, and meaning you already know what you're going to do once you see the results. So again, kind of think back to those ad agencies, Facebook, Google Ads, you are going in with a question of like, how is my ad performing? And you already know what action you're going to take, because if it's higher than, if the cost per click or the whatever it is higher than this, you know what you're gonna, adjust or whatever. And if it's lower than that, you're going to go through and adjust whatever it is. You already know what actions you're going to take based off of the results. However, when we go into GA4, we're not doing the same thing. So this is where going to GA4 with a question like, how is my user journey performing? Is it performing within these conversion rate or these forecasts that I'm expecting? And if not, then I know what action I need to go ahead and take. So that is just one of the pro tips with not just with Google Analytics 4, but any sort of analytics platform that we have going on. So the biggest mistake is that there is no measurement strategy. And that's actually something that after years of seeing people struggle with this, we created the strategy for you. And we're going to kind of go through it really fast since I know we're kind of cutting close on time. But if you want more on this, there is a free course out there for you if you wanted to learn more. But I'm going to go through it. Everyone starts out with marketing in the blind. Basically, they're throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping something sticks. And by the way, I just recently found out that is actually a thing. Did not know. Maybe that's the USA thing that we did not know that was a thing. But marketing in the blind, everyone's kind of like the chaotic marketing. No one knows what's working. They're just, something's working and they just keep pushing money to stuff. They want to be able to know exactly what's working so they can know what button to push, what lever to pull to be able to reliably grow those revenue and profits. They want to know so they can keep growing. And to do that, you go through the 3 steps of plan, build, and launch that you see over on the left-hand side. And in plan, you have to know what questions to ask, the information you need, and the actions to take. Very similar to what we just talked about and why people cannot use certain analytics tools the most efficiently, because they're not going through and planning and kind of figuring out what it is they need, or why they can't get those things because they haven't built it properly. And when you build a step, you need to understand the results and the traffic and the story. Like what are the results you're getting, the traffic that's causing those results, as well as the story that is telling you. And then we kind of just went through all of that just now. And then we also kind of went through our launch step, which is listen, forecast, and optimize. And you can't skip around. You cannot jump straight into optimize without going through the other steps. Or if you do jump straight into optimize without going through the other steps, then you're going to kind of spin your wheels and you're going to get frustrated and it's just not going to be as efficient. That's where the chaotic marketing is coming from. So kind of to recap what we've covered, again, we organize those reports so you can get in and get out. We visualized your user journey so you can see exactly where users are dropping off and where you need to optimize. And you showed how you can compare traffic and devices and stuff so you know what is working and what is not. And again, if you wanted to know more about the different courses and all of that, we have lots of different strategy courses as well as the ones about tools. You can let us know if you have any questions about those. But if you want to know how to get to that free course that I just mentioned, you can jump in. And so you can go to measurementmarketing.io/GA4 gems or grab that link there. Thank you, Phil, for putting that in there. And I'm going to give everybody a chance. And so if you have any questions, again, just let us know. And again, thank you. And one more quick note, I would love feedback if you're able to. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So I'll leave that there. And then I guess we are ready for questions. And I'm trying to see if I can see anything in chat.
If attendees can fill in the Q&A feature for Julie, then have you, Julie, would you say which one's easier to learn, GA3 or GA4?
Well, that's hard. That's a good question. I obviously learned GA3. My gut is saying GA3, but because that's the way I learned it. However, I think like the things that we saw today is a million times easier in GA4. And so if I'm someone who's running traffic and needing to know user journeys and stuff like that and needing to be able to see that easy breakdown, hands down GA4, hands down GA4 to be able to get to that stuff. GA3, it wasn't quite as easy. And also, if you didn't have certain things set up, you only had that set up from that moment forward and not being able to see things retroactively and look back and see that stuff. So there's lots of different nuances with that. But again, if you're trying to see a user journey, I think GA4 for sure. But good question.
Yeah, and yeah, it's nice that they've kind of got certain features kind of built in,
Mm-hmm.
like enhanced events, which is kind of native to make at least the data collection a bit kind of easier.
Yes.
The only thing that's missing for me is the ability to kind of pre-configure. So almost like the API for like if it like to change the default reports or the left
Oh.
navigation. I know there's a management API for settings, but not like
Mm-hmm.
a kind of like front end API to like bulk configure. That would
Mm-hmm.
be nice. Hold on, we got a question. So Dragos has asked, did you consider using benchmarks instead of forecasts? If yes, is there a reliable source for benchmarks?
So we got started actually in the CRO, like, doing optimization, split testing, a decade or so, and that's kind of what led us into this measurement world of things. Our benchmarks that we know kind of come from that and just also working with lots and lots of different clients and teaching lots of different people throughout the year. So the benchmarks are up here, but they're also very similar to what everyone else is using. So like for a kind of cold traffic or coldish traffic, going from an offer page to a cart page could be from 8 to 12%. For that little bit warmer traffic, 10 to 15, to get from offer page to cart. Obviously this can vary with the type of traffic, or it can vary if the product is a tripwire versus a heavy coaching product like $5,000. Obviously there's going to be variances there. And then the cart conversion rate, so from cart to purchase, it typically, again, depending on the price of the product, the audience and stuff like that, 30 to 40% for cold traffic, but if it's a little bit warmer, maybe 40 to 50. Or something like that. I intentionally chose a warmer cart conversion rate so we would have something to talk about of where to optimize. I didn't want everything to look rosy, but actually, if it was true cold traffic funnel, the cart conversion rate, I would have 30 to 40, in case you're wondering on that.
Yeah. I think it's annoying that there's no kind of like native benchmarking feature in GA4, at least for like the traffic
Oh, yes.
distributions. Uh,
Yes, I would.
uh,
Yes, that would be amazing to be able to do that. And I see, why is GA4 e-commerce data not set as a default? That is a good question. From our experience, there's just so many different types of carts. that it's just everything, and these carts will go through different updates and stuff like that. So my guess is that it's just too hard for them to kind of stay on top of all of that. But Google I guess leaves it up to the carts. So think Shopify, WooCommerce, all these other different types of carts to be compatible to Google. And so there's different things, like if you do have a Shopify store, there's tools like Elevar or Little Data. They can plug the data straight into for you. WooCommerce, check a freaking box. It's going to go straight in. So there are tools that are extremely compatible to for GA4, but then there's others that are not, and you have to do it really painfully manually, but it's possible. But a great question. That would be kind of nice. But I can see why with the differences of carts and stuff like that.
Cool. Some really great info there, Julia. I'm just going to post the link to well, the surveys in chat, but I'm also going to put the link to measuremarketing.io one in there just so people can sort of submit that.
Perfect. Thank you.
And so Mohammed just said he set up WooCommerce and Shopify, and both methods are the same.
Yeah, they have they're very similar because they're pushing the data straight into GA4 for you. And depending on how you set it up, obviously, if you're using Tag Manager and stuff like that, there's obviously other different ways for that. But those are I would say those two carts, WooCommerce and Shopify, are Shopify obviously is just a storefront, but Shopify allows you to have access to different tools like Elevar and Little Data to make it super easy for you to put data in GA4. So those are the super easy ones. So when we have clients that have those, we're like, yeah, let's go. But then there's things like Samcart and other ones that are a little bit more difficult. But pro tip for you, another pro tip, talk to the cart. If you are struggling with it, reach out to the people, the support at the cart, and let them know, hey, we're struggling with this. We've actually been on calls with the CEO of Samcart, and because we had a couple clients with them, and they are some of the Samcart's biggest clients, and we're like, we cannot measure the things we need to do for this client. They're thinking about leaving you. Please help us. And they change things so we can make it. This is kind of during the whole transition. UA was still a thing. GA4 was coming new. And so they were willing to change. Same thing with some other carts out there. They were willing to change because they knew their clients needed to be able to measure easier. Checkout Champ was another one. They were extremely open to hearing things. So if you are struggling with a cart, my suggestion is to reach out to them and let them know, what it is you're struggling with. Maybe they already have an answer for you and have guidance for that. But the more people that let them know that they're struggling, the more likely they are to fix something.
That makes sense. And I'm on the Shopify one. I know Shopify actually did a thing where they used to connect to the Google Ads API and add like add to cart as a secondary conversion. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was possible to do a similar thing on management API.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the tip I got, which was helpful, was the using ChatGPT for regex.
Yes.
It's kind of one of the ones where it's like so obvious. I should have just done that,
Yes.
used that
Oh my
before,
gosh.
because regex is a bit fiddly sometimes.
Definitely.
And in fact, there's not like I don't find it as easy testing regex in GA4 as GA3 because you got to just a little bit more. I mean, the case insensitiveness, it sometimes causes some issues. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for doing
Absolutely.
that talk, Julie. I think there's a couple of other questions that have come through, but I'll send those through in chat.